Hello everyone and welcome to Tomorrow's Tech, brought to you by 3 Dot Digital. It's our goal to increase the visibility of entrepreneurs and enterprise leaders who are harnessing technology, driving innovation and enabling business growth. Today we welcome back on our show Peter Laurie. Great to have you back, Peter.
Very happy to be back.
So Peter, the question I wanted to re-engage this conversation with is, what gaps do you currently see within our innovation hubs and startup ecosystems?
So for me, the big one's engagement. There's a lot of people that really should be involved, but they're just not. And it could be through several different mechanisms. The first one, which is the most prevalent, is when I ask people, they say, well, I'm not 19 years old and I don't skate to work, so why should I be in an innovation ecosystem? And that one's just wrong. I'd love to be playing with people that can actually have more experience. The next one is that a lot of people are just too busy getting stuff done. Right? They don't have time to come over and do what they perceive as play when they've got some real work to do. And the third one's probably that they just don't know it exists.
So it's that sense that they just don't want to be involved in what could be perceived as a startup circus.
Well, yeah, I mean, they see it as a bit of a luxury. The startup circus is a good one. I suppose I'm the sad clown in the startup circus because I'm running around feeling bad about it. But we should be doing a lot more here. I mean, we need to have more targeted events that we can get some more specific information, more advanced sort of events. That we run a few of them, but not as many as we could. The problem is that we tend to measure our success through how many people turn up. And for some of the more specific topics, you just don't get 100 people coming to it. You get 5 people coming to it, but it might be the most important event for that year for those 5 people.
It's about taking that quality over quantity approach.
Definitely.
So what impact are you currently seeing that this technology skills gap is having within our ecosystem of innovation?
So I see it in a few different ways. I mean, one of the biggest questions I get is how do I find good people? So I mean, and that's a lacking that we've got in our ecosystem, which I see as a positive sign as well, because we've got that many things to do, we don't have enough people to do it. And that's a good problem to have rather than not having enough problems to work on. So from a technical perspective, where I spend a bit of time, there's a few different options. The first one is to actually do it yourself, and never underestimate the quality of a piece of software that someone could really sit down and do with Excel if they really want to. Now, some of the guys who I've worked with earlier when at the start of this journey, they actually got their stuff built by someone else and then sat down and pulled it apart. And they understood it. That's the way they attacked it.
Taking in that knowledge.
Yeah. So your next option is to go out and try and employ someone. But we were just talking about how we've got this scarcity of resources to be able to do it. So their price is quite high. And you also have to be really confident to employ someone. So then after that, you start to look at contractors, and contractors are much more aware of their price in the market, and they take advantage of that as well. And then you've got the consultancies and design firms, both big and small. They go out and they're somehow even more expensive, and they tend to charge by the 6-minute interval, which causes big problems. And then after you've gone through and done that, you're back at outsourcing, right? And outsourcing is a good way of doing it. It's cheaper per hour. The problem is that it introduces a remote communication problem, which is much harder than a lot of people think. And also when you're doing that remote specifications, you have to specify it to a level that's very precise, and that's as much work, if not more, as doing it. So you've sort of doubled the work.
So considering there's an issue here with supply and demand, how can this technology skills gap be addressed?
So for me, the formal education is the silver bullet here, right? But we need to be doing more of that, and independent of what we do to solve our immediate issues, we have to keep doing that. And that's not just about shoving more people into the front of the pipeline, that's also making sure that people understand the value that they can create at the end of it. It's an incredible place to be. I love doing what we do. Now, in our short term, we need to find a better way to get through this. And so vocational stuff could work. So teaching someone a very specific skill could be useful. However, I think it's a little bit fragile because, like we were talking about last time, the context constantly changes. So if the technology changes, suddenly they're over-invested in one particular set of...
Technology's moving at a rate that's
definitely. And that's about the only thing we can guarantee. So maybe pairing that with some sort of apprenticeship program could work quite well, but it's not something that I've looked too hard at.
What about learning within organisations and corporations?
So pragmatically, and this is a kindergarten level answer, but pragmatically, we should be getting as many people into the country with the relevant skills as we can. There's such a big advantage to being able to work with people closely, and the feedback loop's so tight. Fortunately for us in Australia, the quality of life is so high, it's not that hard to get people here, especially compared to the other options around the world.
Thank you for your insights there. And the question I have, I understand the technology skills gap will be a focus of the QODE conference this year in March. That's Brisbane's Innovation and Technology event.
Yep.
So what is your advice for entrepreneurs attending the event to leverage that to the most?
Yeah, well, independently of how any of these events are positioned, the dirty little secret of every one of them is that the value is brought by the people that turn up. And the event's role is to actually unlock that value. So the important thing is that you turn up. And when you turn up, you communicate with as many people as you can, you keep an open mind, and you look to collaborate with everyone. The other thing with all of these events is that you get about 10 times back what you put in, but if you put nothing in, you're going to get nothing back.
So it's about being there and being present to get the most out of it.
Absolutely.
Look, thank you, Peter, for joining us again on Tomorrow's Tech. Really appreciate your time. And thank you to viewers for tuning in on an episode of Tomorrow's Tech. We have gained some valuable insights from Peter, who's given very candid responses. So thank you, and follow us on our 3.digital LinkedIn page, and join us next time on Tomorrow's Tech.
Tomorrow's Tech, presented by 3.digital.